Man with Gareth McGuinness.
We're back in business. Another week, 4 weeks out to the Premier League season. We've got two very special Liverpool fans on with us tonight. They talk about their club. Lads, how are you feeling coming up to the new season? A lot of talk off the pitch. Liverpool signed a few players as well, so we'll start there. Callum, how would you assess Liverpool's transfer business so far this summer?
So far, so good. Also, we all knew going into the summer that midfield needed major surgery, and so far, so good. We got McAllister on the early doors, and then out of nowhere, the Szoboszlai transfer has come out of nowhere, to be honest. And also, I don't know too much about him, but he has high potential, so we'll see how we get on. But I think we're still missing one or two short, maybe one on the midfield and a centre half, so we'll get on that later. But so far, so good.
Yeah, Owen saying evening, lads. Somebody's asking here, who's the mouth at the bottom? The mouth at the bottom is Kieran Preston. Back on the podcast, they talk about Liverpool. He's said some bold statements in some of the comments, so we thought we'd get you on here to back up some of those comments. Kieran, how would you assess the summer transfer window so far? Are you excited for the new season?
A wee bit frustrating on my end. Linked with all these players, Bellingham, since January last year, you end up nowhere near him. Then the Turan, nowhere near that. That's all gone. A wee bit frustrating. The McAllister was an easy one, 35 million. There's anybody in the Premier League taking that. So that was just, I think we're quite lucky to get that somebody else didn't step on in front of us. I can't say his name, Sabitza. So whatever you call him. I never heard him. I never heard him like anybody else. There's no point lying about it. He's an unknown for me. I've done what everybody else done, jumped on YouTube straight away. You know what I mean?
Were you excited?
What it was all about.
Excited when you seen the YouTube videos?
Aye, same with Callum, a couple shorts.
Were you excited when you seen the YouTube videos?
A wee bit of the Steven Gerrard kind of. Oh, definitely. It's hard not. If I had to Google these worst bits, I mightn't have been, but he seems to be a good player, young player. Somebody bust forward from midfield, creative. He reminds me a bit of a Steven Gerrard. Had a shot from outside the box, which we don't have at all on the team, bar Salah. So bring a new dimension to midfield. So looking forward to seeing him up close and personal, but still a couple short as well.
Yeah, Callum Meets is saying that Liverpool are a couple short. So do you expect more signings to come on? They've been linked with a few players. Lavia being the main one being talked about. But do you expect many more to come on, or do you think it'll just be maybe one or two?
With two tops, I think I'd be disappointed if I didn't get at least two, to be honest, because as we keep saying, we are short. And we let three midfielders go in the summer. Obviously, Milner, Ox, and Keita. I know the last two didn't really feature much, to be honest, but he's still there replacing them. So we got two in the door. We're looking at Lavia. It seems to be progressing, quietly. So we'll see how that gets on, and then God knows who we're going to get at centre half. But we need we need a left footer, because we're playing that free at the back kind of role now. So we need that left-sided centre half to come on. So I'll be bitterly disappointed if I didn't get two players in.
Yeah, Mickey's saying that we need to get a couple more Spurs fans on. He's sick listening to Liverpool fans. Here, look, Mickey, your time's going to come soon. We're going to get you on. They talk about Spurs. I'm sure we'll be looking forward to seeing that one. Cal makes some good points, mates. The midfield's still short in terms of, if you look at who's left, they've let go of Keita, Milner, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, and they've brought two in. And midfield was still a problem area last season. So, do you think midfield will be the main focus in the rest of this window still?
I think maybe one, I would say, and then the whole debate with Trent coming on there, you know what I mean? So I think you need to fill a role right back there. I did think we needed a complete overhaul, but then you look at Alexa, Curtis Jones has been unreal for the last 5 games, and he had an unbelievable. You've got him and Elliott too that are there as well. Also, I don't really know how many people we can really fit in, because these boys need games as well before we can fund another midfielder, and that one is got me scratching my head because I really don't see who we let go now. Maybe Thiago is the only one I can think of that you would probably be willing to get rid of now. Like,
be interesting. Callum shaking his head there. We're going to come on these sort of players you might sell that are on the show. They fund maybe new players coming on. But interestingly, you mentioned Trent playing midfield. Kieran, do you think Trent should, if you were the manager, if your name was Kieran Klopp, for example, would you be playing Trent in midfield, or would you be playing him at right back?
no, midfield all day long. Remember Gareth Southgate done it last year, way before anybody else tried it. Got laughed off the pitch. What's he doing? And then you just see him. He spends most of his day on there anyway, even playing at right back. And he's just left you in with a big hole at the back. So you have to nullify it some way. Are you either going to put him on there, keep him there, because he can't do the two? And you seen what it created towards the end of the season last year when we went on a bit of a run and made a wee push for the top four. He was outstanding. He was the main thread in that midfield, creating things. You know what I mean? And I just think he's an absolute wasted right back, and he's got so much to learn on that role. And he could just be an outstanding player for years to come in midfield if we keep him there.
Yeah. Callum, what would you say on that there about Trent playing midfield? Now, I know you're quite keen on Lavia, who we're going to talk about now, but if Trent was to play in midfield, and we're talking around about 15 million for Lavia as the reported fee that Southampton want, does Meats have a good point that maybe playing Trent in midfield, it frees up funds to sign a right back who, you might get a right back for 25, 30 million instead of maybe going all out for a Lavia and 50 million. So go on, give me your opinion on the Trent a bit, midfield or right back, and then about Lavia's transfer fee.
But I half agree with Kieran because he is right. You have to kind of maximize Trent's time on the ball because he's that good. He'll create out of his ears no matter what. We've seen it at the end of last season. He got what was it, 6 assists or whatever it was the last month and a half, and but he was playing in inverted. He had 3 midfielders in front of him, so he wasn't really playing in midfield. He was in the midfield area, but he wasn't a midfielder. So it's different if you're starting him as one of the midfield 3 and have a right back. I think it's a completely different game. But I do agree that Klopp has to find some way now to maximise how many times we can get him on the ball because he's probably our most creative player, and playing him at right back, I don't hate it because you see now McAllister and Jones is kicking on, and the new signing Lavia. He could go back to the way we were 3 or 4 years ago. We just played a 4-3-3 and let Robertson and Trent go high, but I don't think he will do. But and then on the Lavia, it's really difficult. I've watched him a few times last season with Southampton. He does look a good player. I'm not just saying that because he's linked with us, but he looks really like press resistant, good on the ball. He's a ball winner. He can go after him on the ball back fee. And he's
been linked with Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea, so it's not as if he's been linked with Arsenal. He's been linked
exactly.
With
that's what I mean. People probably think, it's because he's a Liverpool fan. He's just saying that, but no, he has a good player, and whoever gets him will get a good player. It's hard to say 50 million as steep as it stands now, but you can make a mockery out there in 2 years if they sign him.
Yeah. Kieran, do you feel that? I know you're saying about Trent playing midfield, but do you kind of all the noises out of Liverpool of they were looking at Thuram, now they're looking at Lavia? They aren't really linked with any right backs. Do you think a Klopp's already made his mind up that Trent's going to be playing at right back next season?
I don't really know. It's hard to. One day you're linked with nobody, and next day you're linked with half the players in Europe. It's just one of them funny transfer windows again. You just don't know. Like, as I said, it was the Thuram thing, and it's one thing or another. I genuinely don't know, even though Callum makes a great point there. I come back to the 4-3-3 from a couple of seasons ago. I was hammering them hands thinking about, we're obviously going to be talking about tonight. Would they go back that way, the way that they have brought the midfielders that they've brought? It's kind of set up for Trent to drop back in there and push forward. So if you look at the signings we've made, it kind of looks as if he might try and go back that way because it's all, he's filling the midfield with young, energetic, fit young men that can run all day for you up and down the pitch. So it kind of does look as if, last season was a season off and it's gung-ho again this year with a 4-3-3. I think that's what he's looking at doing, but maybe trying to get Trent on there as well. It's well hard to call just a minute because
that's very hard.
Probably have a better idea if the Lavia deal comes through.
Klopp, he can spring a surprise too tactically. But Owen's saying here that he thinks Liverpool, he's a Liverpool fan, that he's need a normal midfielder and a centre back. And we're going to come on to that now because, he's been linked with a lot of midfielders. He's assigned 2 midfielders. But do you think any other areas of the squad need work, Cal? Or Owen's talking about a centre back there. Do you think Liverpool should be looking at a centre back?
100%. You look at our centre back options. You have Van Dijk, who even though he's dropped a wee bit, he's still unbelievable in my opinion. And then Konate, he's excellent, but he's injury prone. And then Matip the same. And then Gomez, he had a shocker year last year, and I actually think he's more suited to right back, which is why we might not be looking at a right back, because he played at right back a few games last year, and he looked better at right back because he didn't have to do as much as you did at centre half. In terms of the whole areas, I think our attacks are it. We have 5 players there. They're all coming in. They're already at their prime, and it's just a good mix we have up front. Midfield's being worked on. I think if you had to ask me now, I think we might go and get Lavia, and then that'll call it a day in the midfield. So midfield and centre half probably is the main two. Like.
Yeah, Kieran, similar question to you. We talked a wee bit about the midfield, but would you like to see some defenders come on? I know personally, for you, you see Trent play midfield, so you'd probably like to see a right back come on. But do you think maybe centre back as well is an issue?
I definitely 100% agree with what Callum saying there. Van Dijk's after that injury hasn't really, come back to his best. Maybe might be a different outcome this season, but the same Matip is never about. He's constantly injured. Gomez is constantly injured, so that leaves you short of a right back too if you didn't put him on the right back. And again, Konate, it's just they all seem to be injury prone. Robertson seems to be the only person in that back line that seems to be there constantly, along with Trent. So definitely getting somebody on again, but you need to pick your two. Do you know what I mean? You can't chop and change the whole season. You need to have it steady. We were absolutely shocking last season at the back. We're all over the place, gaps all over the back 4, and teams just had a field day with us. They enjoyed coming and playing against us. So it needs tightened up big time. We relied far too much on the goalkeeper last year, pulling us out of a hole every time. The many times players get through that back 4 and we're one-on-one with the keeper was absolutely ridiculous. For a top-level team that we they think we are. Do you know what I mean?
I think there was a lot of debate over the last few seasons about Alisson and Ederson, but Alisson last year was kind of exposed a wee bit, and he proved definitely in 1v1 situations he's the best. Fantastic. We say Liverpool time and time again. So I'm sure he'll be looking for more protection this season. And it will be interesting to see with Van Dijk, with the midfielders coming in, that will he be getting a wee bit much more protection now. Lads, we're going to have a wee bit of interactive fun in about 10 minutes time. We're going to finish off talking about the club, and then I'm going to pass the control over to you. So, it's very easy for people to sit and say, what would you do? So these are tonight, these are going to be Jurgen Klopp and the recruitment team. I'm going to be John Henry, and I'm also going to be the selling club as well. So I'm going to be telling you what you can and can't have money-wise. And if he's looking to say, try and cheap your way through the window, I'm going to say, well, he's worth more than that. So we'll try and make it realistic. But before we come on to that, we're going to touch on a few more topics. Sort of leading on to what we're going to be doing. But lads, where is the value in terms of you've spent 100 million now, thereabouts between Shablawsley and McAllister, and that because they were on release clauses, Liverpool had to pay most of it, if not all of it, up front. So there was no paying on the drop or 10 million this year, 10 million next year, because they had to activate them release clauses. A lot of the money was paid up front, if not all of it. So in terms of what we're hearing now, Lavia's fee is a sticking point, which would suggest that the bulk of that transfer kitty has been spent, and it's now down to Jurgen Klopp and the recruitment team to try and sell players in the squad to raise money to buy new players. So, Callum, let's come to you. Where is the value in the squad? There's a lot of aging players, and I'm assuming you don't want to sell any of your best players. So how do Liverpool try and get some money in to attack the market?
It's really, really difficult because you look at the front 5 attackers that we have, and you don't let any of them go. You have Salah, Diaz, Jota, Gakpo, and Nunes, and Gakpo's only on the door, and so is Diaz really technically because he hasn't even had a full season yet where he's been fit. So the attack's a non-starter for me. And then you look at the midfield thing, and the obvious one where he's been talked about, there's been articles wrote about him, as Thiago, which I think is madness, to be honest. He probably will go for free next year, but when he's fit, he's our best midfield player by far. But and he won't have to be as relied upon this season. We knew players who are actually fit and can play in the smaller games for him. The rest of my field, then you're looking. You have Jones, Elliott, Henderson. None of them's going to be sold. Fabinho, people are looking at him. Well, is he going to be sold? I don't think so, because the only replacement straight away is Lavia, and we're already trying to get them. So, you're dropping back to the defence. They're on about selling Nat Phillips. They've been trying to sell him now for 4 years. So I just don't understand that either. And apparently Matip is offered on the table. You're looking at defenders, really. Like, it's either Matip, Nat Phillips, or Thiago's the only three really I can think of you could sell.
Mates, coming to you, he's mentioned some players there, the likes of Fabinho. Has he got a year left in his contract? Is that right as well?
No, he's a couple.
He's a couple, right? Then he's aging. Thiago's got a year left. Nat Phillips, so he's been reportedly trying to sell for quite a while. Matip's got a year left. Even selling some of these players, what kind of funds are we looking at? We're not looking at multi-millions. They go out and attack and spend 50, 60 million on different players, So, is it going to be difficult for Liverpool? They raise funds within the squad?
100%, unless Steven Gerrard comes on and takes them all to Saudi Arabia. That's the only way you're getting money. And that's being deadly serious. It's 100% serious. Like Nat Phillips, you're not getting 10 million for him. Like Matip, he's injured constantly. Who would pay anything between 15 and 20 for him? So you're still looking for another 30 to 40 million potentially. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to get it. Like, the only thing I was maybe kind of holding out some hope, and I didn't really want him to go, was the speculation and the links with Henderson going meeting up with Gerrard, and then that's come out today that it's a no go. Like that's the only reason you get stupid money from Saudi Arabia. I honestly cannot see value in the side at all.
Owen's saying about Joe Gomez, lads. What would you say? Would you let Gomez go for a decent fee?
No, not really, because you have to meet the homegrown quota too. People forget about that. You have to have so many English players.
Very good point.
You have to have so many English players in the squad. That's why basically every English player you can think of in teams are a non-starter.
So you think the best bet is for Steven Gerrard to hire a double-decker bus outside and just clear all the deadwood out and take it Saudi Arabia?
Kier's not lying. It's probably your best hope.
It is difficult. And we're going to bring balance to this, right? We're going to look at maybe what Klopp and the recruitment team could have done, and then we're going to bring the ownership on it. So we're going to have a wee bit of balance in here. Mates, we'll come back to you. Do you think the Klopp and the recruitment team have been too loyal to some of these players? Like, I don't want to compare you to Man City, because Man City are working with different budget. But if you look at last season, they sold Jesus, they sold Sterling, they sold Zinchenko. As soon as they kind of think that players' levels are dropping, they shift them out when they can get a decent fee. And then they reinvest. There is arguments over the years that they've broken rules, and they definitely probably have. We'll be interesting to see the review of that now when it comes out. But over the last few seasons, they've been definitely selling players within their squad all for decent prices. When everyone's seen Sterling going for 60 million, Jesus going for 45, Zinchenko for 30 million. That's good fees for players that were probably not always first-team players. So, have Liverpool slept on a wee bit here? Have they let some players go stale and decline, contracts run down, and now it's very difficult to get any kind of money in for them?
I think so, and I think we've just alluded on it there with what we were saying. A couple of years ago, you might have got good money for the likes of Matip and Nat Phillips. And Nat Phillips wanted to leave, and Klopp guaranteed him more football the following season, which he should have just, let him go, took the money from him. The midfield, we struggled last year. I think it should have been refreshing a whole lot sooner than that. You seen the legs running out. You seen Abbey was constantly injured, wasn't getting a run in the game. The Ox was constantly injured. These players should have been, once they're fit, move on in the next window. I do believe that he has, but then you can't blame him. Really, can you? These players have delivered a lot of success. And so you've loyalty to that too, where the club, first Premier League title in 30 years, a Champions League, an FA Cup, you can't help but keep these players on at the same time. But if you look at your major challengers, they're constantly chopping and changing every time and strengthening, where I don't think we were. Yeah. We were just, as you say, letting the legs run out all over the place. And now we're left with basically dead wood that we can't get no money for. They potentially bring in new players.
Yeah, Owen's making another great point here. The under-21 goalkeeper who obviously saved that penalty for England the weekend, they just got 18 million for him. So again, a player that's not kicked a Premier League ball. And there's a massive argument at the moment that Man City are the best run club in the country in terms of selling players and getting fees on, because they've let a lot of young players go as well for good fees. You look at Lavia's going to Southampton, Bazunu's went to Southampton. They let Sancho go to Dortmund, and now they got a sell on fee for that. Pedro Porro left Man City. They got a sell on fee for that for him going back to Spurs. So they're definitely doing things that are smart in the market. Danny Dorn's watching, lads, and he says he's never seen 3 indoor players like us. Nutmeg Doherty, he's saying, but Danny's a one-track pony, maybe a wee bit like some of these owners Liverpool have. Are they a bit of a one-track pony, Callum? They got a great manager in the Klopp. He utilized the value in the squad. They raise money to go and get players like Van Dijk and Alisson. But now that that's dried up, has the wool been pulled over Liverpool fans' eyes a wee bit? And now that that's been pulled back, there's a lot of criticism for FSG. What would you say to that?
It's a delicate topic, to be honest. I think I think Klopp's bailed them out, to be honest, because a lot of people seem to forget the first 5 years before Klopp even came. They were shocking under Rodgers. I know we had one good year, but the team was awful. We didn't play good football until Klopp came. And then Klopp, he doesn't have a massive budget, let's be honest. And then he got players and developed them, and we struck gold selling Coutinho for 140 million. So I don't think if that didn't happen, I don't think we have the success that we're talking about today, to be honest. And now you're coming, they want to have to recycle the team now after the whole year has been done. Don't get me wrong, they've actually done well this window, and as I'm a big criticizer of them, but they've done well so far this window. But and they've expanded the stadium, and they've done the training ground and all that there. Don't get me wrong, there's pros and cons to it, but in terms of a transfer strategy, I think they've been guarded by Klopp and how well he's done. I don't think they're as good as people say they are in the market.
I see Meat shaking his head there when I started talking there. I seen your comment a few weeks ago, Meats, and you says that FSG hasn't been the problem. They've won the Premier League, they've won the Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup. They've redeveloped the stadium, and so far this window they have spent 100 million without getting any fees on for players. And there's talk now of Lavia coming on. So do you think FSG are running the club well?
I genuinely don't see what's wrong with running a tight ship. I don't get yourself on debt. We're not in hundreds of millions of debt like other clubs. It's like I was over there the last home game of the season, and that stadium's unreal. So it is, they've completely regenerated the whole area. They brought the training ground back, and they have been criticised, but as you've just touched on there, Gareth, 70 million for Van Dijk, 85 million for Nunes, 70 something for. They do spend big money. They do, but they don't spend above their means like other clubs do. And I just, why would you go out and spend and get yourself on the debt? We cried about the debt that we run under Hicks and Gillette and other things like that, but they're spending the money wisely, and they are bringing. If Klopp looks for a target, he genuinely gets it.
Lee's saying here that he believes Liverpool need to sell up Klopp. Klopp's keeping the fans off the owners' back with trophies. One in the league, the Champions League. It's time for them to go now. There's no way we're going to be able to compete with Man City and Newcastle, and especially if United are bought by the Arabs. Meets, what would you say to that? If United are took over, we know Newcastle have a big budget now to spend. Man City aren't going to go anywhere unless they were hit with massive charges, which I think is unlikely. We know these things are rarely proven. They might get at best they might get banned for 1 year. But, they've got enough quality there to survive it. They might get a fine, but I don't see them being deducted points or, placed under a transfer ban for a number of years. So, what would you say to Lee that he believes that it's time for these owners to sell up? They've done a great job, but now you need somebody that's prepared to invest more to take a club forward.
Now look at PSG. Loaded the gills. Can't win a Champions League. They won that dummy league run every year. Big deal. You know what I mean? As your man Leonardo comments is already, 5 of the last thing the teams don't know. You don't need an Mbappe. You don't need these players. If you have a strong unity within your team, a team of 22, 23 man squad that go out and fight for each other every day of the week. It's all about that. It's not about individual players or we more money than you. Like we countered the league against City when they had all the money and they had whatever.
Callum, do you think that
I don't believe that's the answer. We just need
like Meats is making some good points there. Like, if you've seen Chelsea, who spent 600 million in the last couple of seasons, finished in the bottom half of the table last year, bought the wrong players, paid way above what these players were worth. So is it more about getting the right strategy and then when a Bellingham, for example, becomes in the market, you break your budget that one season to get him in? Is that the frustration with Liverpool fans that they were looking at Tuchemi, he went to Real Madrid, looking at Bellingham, went to Real Madrid, do you think the more frustration is they've missed out on their top targets and that the midfield was allowed to become so staid for so long that's more of their criticism and not the criticism that they should just spend hundreds of millions every year?
I would agree with that there. It's not like we're not asking. I know we spent, Kieran said we spent big fees, but we've usually recouped them fees or been close to it every summer. It's not as if we're spending them fees and letting it be. But I think it's more to do with strategy. Before this window, we bought one midfielder in 5 years, and it was Thiago. So I think that's just a lack of poor planning and a lack and to do with the sentimentally we're on away earlier on. Klopp holding on to players too long and stuff like that there. So I think most Liverpool fans or most level-headed Liverpool fans would say we're not looking for the world. We're just looking for when the moment's right, when, like the Bellingham or the Tchouaméni, they go and get that one player, take it that wee step further, and we might just go win that extra trophy. Because I don't think they're out of our range, to be honest. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world. Like we could have afforded Bellingham this year if we had structured our midfield properly the past 2 or 3 years. So I think that's where the frustration creeps on, because we kind of just let it run and run and run. Then we have these like dead years, like we did during the COVID year and last year.
Yeah, right, boys. We're going to get straight on that here. We're going to talk about your predictions and where you see Liverpool next season. We're going to do this first because I want you to try and give me a picture of what the squad might look like towards the end of the window. So we're going to start off because we have been talking about. We do believe now it's very, very close. If the transfer kitty isn't empty, it's very, very close to being empty. So it's more about generating funds now to try and sell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be generous. I'm going to say that they have a transfer budget of 120 million. He's spent roughly 95. So I'm going to give these that 25, right? So now you just need to go and sell the rest. They try and attack a market. So we'll start off with selling players, and then we will have an overall fee of what we're working with and who we can get on. So as I said, I'm not going to go through every player in the squad because it's pointless me saying Salah because he's not going to want to sell him. I'm going to go these rough names of players that have been linked with a move or players that maybe aren't in the first team squad. And I might throw in the odd player on the bench that it might be one of them ones where if the right offer come in, you would sell. So we'll start off with the defense. So he's mentioned them earlier on, Callum. Matip, would you sell him or would you keep him?
If you could get a fee from him, I would definitely sell him.
Well, I reckon the fee for him is going to be 10 million and no more. So would you sell or keep him?
I would sell for 10 million.
Would you sell for Meats for 10 million?
I'll sell him for 2.
Right, so I'm being generous. So your budget's now up to 35 million, right? So just another 100 to go to sign Meats' top target on Mbappe. So you might have to sell a lot of players to get him on.
You never know. You never know what's going to happen.
Pull looking top. Spurs won't be near it. Right. That's for a different conversation. Klopp will be Real Madrid's manager next year. That's an interesting point. Happens to come from a Man United fan, so how much of that he'll take on board, I don't know. We're going to move on to I'm going to throw this one out there because I know you says about the English quota, but Joe Gomez, let's say West Ham come on with a 25 million offer. Meats, would you sell him for 25 million or would you keep him?
No, I'll keep him. And for the only reason is for the cover right back because I just don't know what's going to happen, and he's basically the only person in the squad who can fit back on there if Trent does go on the midfield or if Trent gets injured, or so just for that reason alone, because there's nobody identified so far as a potential right back coming on, I would keep him.
Callum?
I would agree with that there. I think I know he had a terrible season last year, but I think he's only 25 or something. I think he's versatile. We can play centre back or right back. I don't think 25 million would convince me to sell him.
I know the answer with this one, but I'm going to try and haggle with a fee. So Nat Phillips, I'm going to come on with a 5 million bid if Burnley. What would you say to that, Callum?
You can take him. I'll drive him. I can't even drive, and I'll still try driving.
So we're up to 40. We're up to 40 million. We're getting there. We're nearly at the price where we can afford one player to come on. Moving on to the midfield. Again, you have signed some good players, but there's been links with Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago. So we're going to look at these three specifically. Thiago, there's a big link to Saudi Arabia. Cam, I know you're a big Thiago fan, but does this all come down to the offer for Liverpool that they may look at it, that if he does be injured quite regularly, if they can get anywhere near 20 to 25 million, they might just say, look, we'll take the money and we'll try and get somebody else in that's going to be more reliable. So how do you see that?
I think you're spot on, to be honest, though. That the official line at the minute is that he wants to stay, but the club are open the offers. So I think if you're the club, or what I think they're thinking is, if we can get 25 million upwards, you can go out the door, no problem. But I wouldn't necessarily agree with that at the minute, like as you say.
Well, he was bought for about 20, wasn't he?
It was 20 million.
So would you take that 20 million back now if it was offered?
Especially with a player in the last year's contract, as Callum rightly says, he's a class player when he's fit and he's on the ball, and he's just too injury prone. And it's the last year's contract. He's definitely not going to get it extended with the new buys, so I would let him go.
Cheers, Danny. I said he's enjoying the show. The boys are a big part of it as well. Fabinho, now this is an interesting one because he was regarded as one of your key players, possibly right up until last season, and he had a really, really poor season. Callum, where do you stand in this one? Has the legs just emptied and there's not much left?
If you're going off last season, you would say aye. He just fell off a cliff. I think people forget too. You know, if you ask someone, what age is Fabinho, they probably say 32 or something, but he's only 29. Like he just seems to have fallen off a cliff.
I think just the relentless pressing. He plays every game.
Since he's joined the club, if you think about it, really, there hasn't been another number 6 at the club that can a natural one. So he hasn't had a rest for 5 years. So you can see why it's happened. Like, but he's looked a wee bit better in that new system at the end of last season. So maybe, I don't know. I know it hasn't even been talked about getting sold, but there's one I would consider if you got a big offer from him.
What are we talking? What do you think?
If you were to sell Fabinho now, he's 29. You're looking on this market as well. You're probably looking upwards of 50 million. The way the prices are
50.
So look at the prices. Sure.
Man
United paid 60 million for Mount, and he's a year left in his contract.
Well, the lad, what do you call him, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, went for 40 million euros today. So I don't know if they would be getting 50 million off a Saudi Arabian team. Mates, what's the lowest you would be looking at for Fabinho? What's the fee you'd say? Well, I'll take that.
I'll take no less than 40 million.
40.
Definitely. And I agree with everything. I agree with everything Callum just says there. He had my nerves wrecked last season. He was lit on every single challenge he put on. He should have been sent off 10 to 15 times last year. He was unbelievable. He was all over the place. Now, Weller, as just, he needs a bit of help on there because he was doing all the donkey work. He sat in front and he done more last year because he was trying to protect that shocking back four. So he was getting pulled from pillar to post like all over the pitch. I would let him go and bring on somebody else. Or 45.
People are saying 40 or 45. Well, I'm going to give you an offer here from Saudi Arabia that's going to match that offer that Savic went for. So I'm going to offer you 40 million euros. That's around 35 million. Would you be tempted to sell at 35 million?
No. Not at 35 million.
You would keep him?
I know he had a bad season last year, but not for 35. I think that's ridiculous. He's 29. He can still do it, but I wouldn't take 35 million from him.
I'll tell you about you. If there's a 35 million bid on the table and that club says we're not offering any more, where would your head be at with that?
Well, if you were to tell me if that 35 million gets you your Lavia in, I think you have to take it.
Callum, what do you think? 35 million? That takes the budget up to 95 million, I believe.
If you could guarantee me Lavia comes on as a replacement, then you could maybe twist my arm. But
so we'll come back to it, but we're going to say at the minute he's being saddled with the budget at 95 million. Now, the last midfielder that's been linked away is Henderson. Now, an aging player, but a Liverpool legend, captain of the club through the big success years. Mates, would you keep Henderson for his experience, or do you think it is time for him to move on?
No, I think he still brings something to the team. I do. Being at live games, he's the one you hear in the pitch shouting and roaring. He's constantly at them.
Constantly. You're you're not going to get much anyway. So is there really any value in probably selling him? That's the other thing.
I don't think so. Like, and he has become a bit part player now. Do you know what I mean? He has been coming on. While a lot of his appearances last year were from the bench, so I don't see, and you're not going to get what you need, money wise, to fund really anything. But I think his leadership skills and his what's the word I'm looking for?
Temperament.
I come up with my own way. Well, he lost the head a couple of times last year, but I just think he brings, he settles, especially them young boys coming on as well. Like, he settles them down, and as I say, like, I've been to live games, and he's constantly shouting and roaring and telling them where they go and telling them what they do and push up and push back. I think he brings a whole lot to the team when he's on the pitch, and I know people won't agree because he's a bit of a side-to-side player rather than a pumping forward player. But no, I would keep him because I don't think you're going to get that much from him.
Yeah, Callum, would you agree with me, sir?
100%. I suppose in this scenario as well, he's already sold Thiago and Fabinho, so I can't sell Henderson either. But no, 100% agree with everything he's saying. I'm not his biggest fan anymore in terms of what I can provide, on the ball and whatever. But in terms of his experience and all that and whatnot, you have to keep him.
Experience. Yeah, that's a word.
I'm going to freeze on a couple of curveballs here, right? Now, I know you says, Callum, you wouldn't sell any of the attackers, but everyone's got a price. If a club was to come in, let's just say an Atletico Madrid or, a Napoli was to come in and offer 60 million for Nunez. Now, he didn't have a great season last year, but that recoups a lot of that fee they spent. Would you be tempted to sell at all?
No chance. So what's the point in giving up on players after a year? He's only 22, was he not? No chance. 60 million. We only paid 64 million for him, by the way. I haven't paid any add-ons yet because we haven't won anything. So
right. So what would be your money back? You wouldn't be tempted?
Nah, no chance.
You're wrong, right?
They explode.
Meets agrees. And the other one I'm going to ask you about is Jota. Now, he comes on, makes an impact. Isn't always a guaranteed starter. If a team was to come in and bid 50 million for Jota, would you be tempted to sell?
Now, he was one of the boys I had on the top of my tongue. But he does so much when he does come on. Remember, we played your lot?
Yeah, I remember. I should have been sent off.
You know what I mean? So, I just think, with the way the front three play, I do think that there's going to be a couple of wee injuries maybe picked up, because it's so fast paced, and I wouldn't touch them at all. You need somebody off the bench, even whenever they're not creating much in a game. You bring him on, he gives you something different. I keep him all day long.
Yeah. Lee thinks Nunez is going to be a monster next season.
100%.
And Owen says that Nunez, there's a lot of hit for him. It's over the top. And he did score some goals. I think it's just how many chances he missed was probably flagged up. Lads, so that gives you, is there any, before we go on any further, that's about a 95 million budget. We could probably push that up to 100. Is there anyone else that I haven't mentioned there that you would possibly look to sell?
The one I was just thinking about was maybe Simicast, because you're looking at buying a left-sided centre half, like a left footer. So if you were to sell him and then maybe get the left-footed centre half on, you could do maybe an Ake role, do centre half and left back. I would give you Robertson and then whoever you buy for that role. So
that'd not leave you very short though, that you basically only have one recognised left back in the squad.
Sure, we only have one recognised right back in the squad at the minute. Trent. So
well, you've got the wee lad from Aberdeen there, was injured last season.
No, well, he's way depressed on me.
Was he? Well, Connor Bradley, what about him? Can he get a run on this team?
He had a good season at Bolton, don't get me wrong, boys, but come on, he hasn't proved anything. Like.
Right. So Shimigas, what are we looking at for Shimigas, do you think? 15 million?
You'd be lucky to get 20.
No, he's not cool.
He
doesn't want to
go. Right. So now you were speaking about Jones there, who probably hasn't always he had a great end of last season, but not always a fan favourite, I would say. But his form during the end of last season and the World Cup has probably put him on a level now above Elliott. What's your thoughts on Elliott, Cal? How many games is he going to get next season in this team?
Hopefully not all, because I don't think he's good enough to play for us, to be honest. He's a decent wee footballer, don't get me wrong, but he's a failed winger. He's not fast enough to be a winger. and he's not physical enough to be a midfielder. So I think he got over 40 games for us last season. I think that's ridiculous, to be honest. He's young as well, which is unfair on him at the same time.
I'm not even gonna throw him on there because there's no links. So
you wouldn't sell them English players. I know there's the homegrown quota.
Mates, what about you? Do you see a future at Liverpool for Elliott much longer after this year?
No, not really, Gareth. It's just because they're bringing in boys around his age now. You know what I mean? Them two boys, and where's he getting the game? And then even look at Curtis Jones is 100% ahead of him in the pecking order. He is with under 21s. With England, and he's stepped up where Elliott, since that big injury he got, he hasn't really come back from it. Dilly's out in the wing. He doesn't really produce much. Bitting the man is I think he's a bit of a one-trick pony. I think he's more of a lower Premier League side or maybe Championship side. I would think would probably be better.
Maybe loan him out and hopefully maybe makes an impact, and then maybe he can sell him. Lee's talking about Carvalho here. Surprised he didn't sell him. He's only really been there, but doesn't he? And Klopp seems to really like him. And I thought he was going to do really well last season because I really enjoyed him at Fulham. But lads, look, we're going to be generous again, and look, he's have raised plenty of money there, and we'll just say he's found 5 million lying on the side of the street outside Anfield. So we're going to give you 100 million now to spend on
outside Anfield.
No, if you find 5 beer, lucky. We'll say that the FSG, as Meats says, are not as bad as what everyone says. They says we're going to donate 5 million to this kitty, and that gives you 100 million. So, Callum, let's start with you. I'm going to give you the opportunity to sign one player each. Callum, where are you going first?
I think it's hard. I don't want to go easy and just say Lavia. Like, I'll let me tell him. You can have Lavia if he wants. I would test the waters.
I'll let you debate it between yourselves. Do you both want Lavia as one of them signings for the 50 million?
I would take him.
I don't know. I'm not really 100% on him to be fair with you.
Is there anyone out there, mates, you would prefer to see come on for around about that 50 million mark?
I was all up for Turan. I was 100%. I thought, here we go. That's the man. And then they've changed their tune. So I don't really know. Look,
would you be tempted with that 100? Would you be tempted with that 100 million, mates? They knock on PSG's door. I know you're a big Mbappe fan.
I'll go over myself with in a suitcase and bring them back.
Would you not be worried about the midfield being very short?
No, forget about the midfield. That's stuff like that's a pipe dream. You know what I mean? That's just banter. But because at the end of the day, you have to pay the man's wages after that. Yeah. You're paying 100 million for him. You're giving him 6, 7, maybe 100 grand, maybe £1 million a week. You'd be looking for. That's just not going to happen ever. That's just a pipe dream. But as regards the centre midfield, I have a wild thing about buying boys from relegated teams. If they can't get up for it when things are going bad and whatever. To
be fair, it worked with Robertson, didn't it?
I would take Ward-Prowse.
I'll mind Alden.
You would
James Ward-Prowse.
You would go for Ward-Prowse.
Come on.
Right.
I would take him before I take
he's going to go for James Ward-Prowse. I think you probably get him for about 30 million, maybe. I
wouldn't have James Ward-Prowse, no chance.
You wouldn't have him. Well, well. This is the problem you have. You see, it's not as easy as what you think it is. They try and get players on the door. There's probably the same conversations happening. We've got Kieran Klopp, and we've got the recruitment team above him here, Callum Quigley, and you can't agree on the players. So this is the kind of conversations that probably happen behind closed doors. Owen's saying there's no way I would have James Ward-Prowse. And Lee is saying that Mbappe would kill Liverpool's wages. He probably would want $500,000 a week. So, Meats is bringing in James Ward-Prowse. Are you happy to go with Lavia then as the other one?
Well, we're not getting both of them. What's one?
Lee suggested possibly Eze from Palace. Now, that's an interesting one. He's a good player.
I watched him when we were on Liverpool last August. I watched him live against us, and he was excellent. And he's not the same type as players, Lavia. He's more attacking, but he's some player.
Right, so I'm gonna throw this out there, right? So I'm gonna get you to pick between Lavia and Ward-Prowse for your midfield target.
I can't let us have this James Ward-Prowse.
I'll take Lavia. I'll just keep him happy.
Right, Lavia. So that gives you 50 million roughly to spend. What area of the squad, Callum, would you go for? Would you go for an arm midfielder? Would you look at centre back or right back?
I think it's obvious it has to be a centre half.
Right. Mates, centre half for you?
Centre half and hopefully some change for a right back.
Callum, would you go with that 50 million and knock on Chelsea's door for Colwell? Now, I know you're a big fan. Liverpool have been linked with him. He's regarded as one of the best young centre backs in England, and there's even talk now that he should come into the first team and replace Maguire. So, do you think 50 million would be enough to get him?
Not unless he kicks up a fuss, because I think he has 2 years left in his deal. I think there was maybe an option for a third too. So it's unless he wants to go the other way, it's a non-starter really. But whoever Chelsea gets him, or if he goes to somewhere else, they're getting a top player in my opinion.
They bring balance in here, right? We're gonna act on what's been in the media, and that Colwell wants to go to Liverpool if the offer comes in that meets Chelsea. And let's just say I'm going to be Chelsea now. I'm going to say, look, we don't want to sell him, but if you give us 50 million up front now and 20 million in add-ons, if you've won the Premier League, we want 10 million in the next 3 years off he's if he's won the Premier League within the next 3 years, and they are 10 million if he's won the Champions League within the next 3 years. Do you sanction that deal, mates?
Probably not, because you are going to win them, like.
If you do want them, then is the money irrelevant?
Of course it is.
Aye, that's that. See, I'm so optimistic this year, boys. That's what's wrong with me. I'm 100%
so are we happy enough to go with that, Callum, that you sell Fabinho, Thiago, Phillips, Shimikas? No, it wasn't Shimikas. Who was the other one? Matip. Sell them 4 and bring Colwell and at centre back. He can also play, as you says, he's left footed, so maybe even slot on at that left back at times if needed. And play like that at Nathan Ake role, and Lavia, who's obviously their top target. Do you think that would be a good window for Liverpool? They come out the other side of that very, very happy.
I think we're still, because we sold Fabinho and Thiago and signed one more, so you're still maybe probably one short midfield, but overall,
but the argument there is maybe we have a lot more quality in there. You know, he's a black
players who are always going to be injured too.
He's upgraded massively. He's brought on young players that we would imagine that would be there for the next 4 or 5 years minimum. So there's a lot more. Mates, would you be happy with that if he's come out of the window with Shablawsley, McAllister, Colwell, and Lavia?
Well, I do think that would be the main parts of the squad that let us down last year, sorted. But again, I'll go back to the right back position, which I do, but the whole Trent thing is up in the air. Nobody knows what's happening there. I know we keep coming back to it. Well, I keep coming back to it, but until we know exactly what's happening before we can fill that position, but that's where we do lack in that right back position. But as long as the midfield, that's the overhaul of the midfield, Alexa Jones and that still, on the bench, they come in and do a job. And if we get an centre half, it gives a bit of protection back there. And again, just the Lavia thing, if you are going down the road of Thiago or Fabinho, I would be pretty happy with that and good to go.
Right. So let's just say that's what happens, right? And you have to say, right, that Colwell and Lavia probably are the 2 top targets. So we're not being completely unrealistic there, and that's kind of around the reported fees. I do think if Liverpool sign a centre back, they'll either sign Colwell, who they're massive fans of, or they'll wait next year. I do think Lavia will get done. Where I can see maybe if they don't sell both of them players, even if one goes, I think they might try and maybe sanction an add-ons on with Southampton, where they maybe pay half this year and half next year. They make it happen because there's no smoke without fire, and this has been rumbling for the last few weeks. So I'll be very surprised if Liverpool walked away from it now. Lads, the question we've all been waiting for. Kieran, do you believe Liverpool with that squad are title contenders this season?
They've no choice but to be. Last year was an absolute disgrace, and we've been up there for the last 4 or 5 years. They've got away with murder last year with the fans, first and foremost. We've come Christmas, I was quite happy to call the season off, and it didn't really bother me what really happened last year. I think everybody was basically the same. It was like, right, we've been brilliant for 5 years, but we're going to now go out, take a season off. We need to rebuild and come back even stronger. So I think it's absolutely 100% we will be title contenders, because that is what this rebuild is for.
Yeah. Callum, what about you? Do you sense that FSG, with this if they spend this kind of money that we're looking at, I know they've got some money back, but they would still come out of the window having spent a significant amount of money. Do you think this is where the ball game changes? That it's not just about trying to finish fourth or maybe even fifth because of the new Champions League coming on. That fifth might get you into it. That they're looking at, no, we need to be competing for the Premier League and the Champions League.
I don't think they're looking like that there. I think it's this summer is a result of lack of planning and lack of action years ago. So we're spending big now because we've been forced on it. It's not because FSG have suddenly had a change of heart and they want to tap into the pocket. They're still just spending their revenue, and they put us up for sale last year, and they were all about investment then when that's gone quiet too. So I don't think FSG's had a change of heart. I think their hand's been forced just.
Do you think that Liverpool will be the big beneficiaries of this, that their hands been forced? Because you've been very, very positive over the last few weeks chatting to you that you think that Liverpool's going to come back very strong this year. They're not in the Champions League, therefore they can rest a lot of their key players in definitely in the early part of the Europa League. You'd expect Liverpool to get the February really before they have to tap onto the main part of their first 11. They try and get through in the Europa League. You'd expect them minimum they make that last 16, won the group without a fuss, and then there'll be a balancing act in the last 3 or 4 months of the season. But do you think Liverpool will come back strong this season?
I think it's contingent on getting a number 6 in a centre half. I think if you were to start the season next week, I wouldn't be saying we're title contenders with what we have it currently. But if we get a 6 on, saying it's Lavia, and then whoever they get a centre half, I would say we're up there for title.
Well, if Lavia and Cole will come on, do you then believe we're finishing third minimum?
I would say we're stronger than Arsenal, and that's controversial, but if we get them two in, we're people forget the quality that we already have too. You have like Salah, Alisson, Van Dijk, Trent.
Do you think then if these players come on, then Man City are going to be looking at Liverpool as possibly their biggest challengers?
I think so, because we're the only team that's actually shown we can do it too. Arsenal, I know they fell off in April last year, but no other team apart from Liverpool's actually shown that they can go toe-to-toe. And Arsenal got battered too in the 2 games they played them in the league last year.
Mates, a lot of people are still saying that Liverpool fans need just rain on a wee bit. Man City and Arsenal set a really strong standard last year. Arsenal tailed off towards the end. Now I know you're probably going to say that Liverpool put up a fight for a few years and went toe-to-toe with Man City up until the last game. But the fact that Liverpool have a lot more to prove now, do you still think it's unrealistic that they're going to challenge? Or do you disagree with it and think that we've had our off season and we'll bounce back like we did a couple of years ago?
No, genuinely, no, I do. I just think that last season was the off season, and this year there's no two ways about it. It's nothing else is acceptable, and that's just they're not going to get away with what they got away with last year. The fans won't take it, and that's it. And if the fans and Anfield get on your back, the players know about it. So they've got to buy a ball.
Do you agree with Callum that he thinks that Liverpool are stronger than Arsenal, even though they had that off season, that if they come back to their maximum capacity, that Man City will be looking more at Liverpool as their nearest challengers?
Well, Arsenal kind of just fell apart towards the end of the season, didn't they, really? So they done well, but Man City will go on a run after Christmas every single time, won 15 games in a row. That's just what they do. And we showed that we're the only team capable of keeping up that pace. Arsenal had a go at it last year. We know European football, and they couldn't do it, where we were competing and winning Champions Leagues and domestic trophies and still keeping up with them. So we've now got the legs and the engine room now, back in the midfield of these signings that we are predicting may as well go through. I just don't see anybody else but us putting it real to them. And as Callum says, Arsenal have European football this year. If Arsenal get into the latter stages, top their group, maybe before Christmas, and are guaranteed, you won your 3 home games or whatever, and you're up there and you're guaranteed. Hey, they're going to look to strengthen again. They make a push for Europe as well, whereas we're playing our reserves, hopefully, and we're going to concentrate on one thing.
Be interesting to see, because I do think this Declan Rice signing makes Arsenal definitely a stronger force, but we'll have to see. The interesting one, lads, is tell me this, right? If these are on, let me use a scenario here. If these are on the top 2, and it's just Man City and Liverpool with about let's say 6-7 games to go, and these are 2 points in front of Man City, 3 points in front of City, and these are also in the semi-final of the Europa League. With that final, they come in Dublin, which we know Liverpool fans are dreaming of already. Even though it is only Europa League, it's still a European final. What takes the priority for you? Do you want to see them really give it all out for the league, or do you think that final in Dublin will be so special for Liverpool fans? Callum, let's start with you.
If you're asking just me personally, as a football fan, the memories is what makes it. So I would 100% love to get a day out in Dublin. I went to Paris last year, and obviously we didn't win it, but it's not the point. We had probably one of the best days you ever had up until the game. So I think as a football
what I'm saying
fan,
is they bring balance on. I'm not saying completely, not going to empty the team on a Saturday.
No.
What I mean is, would you like to see them take the Europa League just as strong at that stage as the Premier League?
I think so. Anyway, as I say, as a fan, you want the days out, you want the memories. So I think a day out in Dublin for all the Liverpool fans would be something you'll never forget. Like, even if it is only Europa League.
Mates, what about you? Would you like to see them if it got to that stage where they were top of the table, Man City breathing down their neck with 6-7 games to go, but they're in the semi-final of the Europa League with a possible final in Dublin? Let's just say United's a possible opponent in the final. They've dropped out of the Champions League, and they're in the other semi-final. It's Liverpool, Man United in Dublin. For you, are you taking both competitions 50-50 and it's, let's try and win the both of them?
Oh, you have to try and you do have to try and win the both of them. But if you're prioritising, if you're asking me, I'm all right. I'll go down to Aviva and watch Derry beat Shales in the final of the FA Cup. I'm good with that. You know what I mean? I've taken it's about league championships for me, man.
Owen saying if we get to that stage, you have to go for it. Referring to the Europa League, and I do agree. I think that it'd be very difficult to win that Europa League if you don't take it seriously towards the end, because we've seen teams rotate, and that's often why the Spanish teams tend to clean up, because they play their strongest team in it, whilst the other teams kind of rotate. So it'll be interesting to see if it came to that stage. Lads, we're going to look at predictions to finish the show. I've focused on 3 key areas of the season for me, which are important in winning the league or challenging, is your opening start, your Christmas fixtures, and your running. So we're going to look at these games in isolation, and then we're going to ask for some season predictions before we finish. And I want to thank everyone for watching their comments. It's been really, really interactive, which has been good. So, lads, we'll do this in tandem. So we'll ask you both. We'll start with you, Callum, on this one. First 7 games: Chelsea away, Bournemouth home, Newcastle away, Villa home, Wolves away, West Ham home, and Spurs away. Now, Alan Hansen, Liverpool legend, famously says you can't win the league in your first 6 games, but you can certainly lose it. And I have to say, I've looked at all the teams opening fixtures, and I think Liverpool and the top 6 have the hardest start, along with Newcastle maybe. If you look at them first 3 away games, you're playing Chelsea, Newcastle, and Spurs. Now, Liverpool have won, they got 7 points in them 3 games last year, but no 2 seasons are the same, and they are going to be difficult games. So, Callum, do you think this is a very tricky start?
Out of the top 6, it's probably the hardest, to be honest. I think it's all about getting teams at the right time, but I think Chelsea first game could be a perfect time, because we don't know what the crack is, how Poch is, how to line them up. Or I know he has 4 weeks now, or 4 or 5 weeks to get them the way he wants them, but you still have to go out and play competitive matches first to get the rhythm. So I think we got Chelsea at the perfect time. And then you look at the home matches, the Bournemouth, West Ham, and Villa. You have to win your home matches no matter what. Newcastle away will be tough. And then Wolves away, Spurs away. You just can't buy 1 against us. We're your bogey team. So I wouldn't worry too much about us. A big nuisance away. Wolves away, it's always tough too, but they're lost Neves. I think our hardest game there is Newcastle away, because they're going to be up for it and they have legs and the fans.
Give me a quick prediction there on how many points you think you'll get. Now, there's 21 points on offer there. So I'm not going to do individual games. Just give me a rough number of what you think they might take.
19.
19. So that would be
19.
That would be
1-6 and draw with Newcastle.
6-1, 1 draw, right? And if they got that start, I would put them right up there, because we know Man City can tend to be slow starters as well. So, but never too slow that they're miles away, but they're, they tend to do better in the second half of the season. Mates, they bring a wee bit of balance into this. I'm going to flip this around. Chelsea away could be looked at as a perfect time to play them. Newcastle away, they're going to be looking forward to playing the Champions League. And Spurs away, it's very early in Ange Postecoglou's reign. And similar to Pochettino, and we've said about Chelsea, they've sold a lot of players, haven't seen a lot of players come on. So do you think that despite them being hard fixtures on paper, there's a chance that they fall in perfectly at the right time for Liverpool as well?
I think so. I prefer getting them nice and early rather than around, and them kind of 3 fixtures that you've mentioned coming on around Christmas time. Chelsea, you would like to think that they'll have some sort of style of play. They'll have a settled squad, a settled 11 maybe. I think there's that many leaving, and then there's drops and drabs coming on.
So are you actually very happy you're playing Chelsea first game and you think it's perfect time to play them?
I know people went, but no, I was definitely Chelsea home or away. I would have took no problem, and I don't have a problem with the Newcastle one away. I mean, it depends on how they get on their first 2 fixtures. Could be sticky. It might. I don't think they're going to go as well as they did last year, if I'm honest. So I genuinely don't think they will.
Owen thinks it's going to be 21 points out of 21. He thinks Liverpool's going to win all 7. So, mates, what do you think? Rough points estimate, Callum. Owen saying 21 in the chat here. Callum saying 19. What do you think?
I'd say about 18. I was going to say 21, but I think there's going to be a wee potential slip up on there. And I was at the Villa game, the last home game of the season, and we just couldn't play through them. We just could not break them down for love nor money. So, that's the kind of team you have coming to Anfield. They're just going to shut up shop. And if we haven't got the right signings on and the right creative players, they break these teams down. They've always become a sticking point for us. So I think we will drop maybe, I don't know. We're going to drop some points, I can see, in the start of it. But I think every team will be the same. I don't think anybody's going to go on and win their first 7.
If I offered you 18 points now, which would be 6 wins and 1 defeat, you'd be happy. You'd take that all day.
All day long.
All day long.
Callum, let's come back to you. Christmas fixtures. I think this is an all-important time of the season. A lot of games and around that Christmas period. And again, these are quite tricky. He's playing Man United on the 16th of December, Arsenal on the 23rd, Burnley away on Boxing Day, and Newcastle at home on the 30th. So within them 2 weeks, you play them 4 games. Now, there could also be a cup game on there if he's were to make the EFL Cup quarters final. Again, that's impossible to predict, but that would fall in between the Man United and Arsenal game. So, Callum, again, the fixtures haven't been quite kind here again. You're playing 3 big hitters on them 4 games. What's your thoughts on them fixtures? The only thing I would say is they're all at home, them 3 big games, and Liverpool are notoriously strong at home. So
you just talk words. I mean, my first point was going to be that they're all home, which is a massive advantage for us, to be honest. Man United will be a far harder game than it was last time. I was at the match at 7-0. I always mention that there. They'll be coming thinking straight away at 7-0. So they'll not want anywhere near that again. So that'll be a hard match no matter what form either team's on come the time, because as you say, it'll be in their head at 7-0. And then I expect Arsenal to be up there. So Arsenal's always an end. It's like a basketball match when Arsenal come to Anfield, no matter what. Every single year I can remember. It's always a great game to watch. Burnley away is a shocker, and Christmas, that's just a one fixture you don't want. Burnley away, you don't know how they're going to be under company. I would take it I'll offer me a draw. Burnley away, take it now. And then Newcastle, after playing Champions League, you don't know how they're going to be. I agree with Kieran. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. So I would go probably 3 1s and a draw. I'll be off the list.
3 1s and a draw. I would give you 10 points from M12, which would be a good return. Mates, before we get into the fixtures, Callum spoke about being at the match there, the 7-0. Can you remember where you were when you beat United 7-0?
Unfortunately, it didn't go out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You did not, did you?
I was jumping around.
You know what? I have a wee bit of respect for you. I know a lot of fans that get their tops zipped off at half-time. As soon as the second goal went on, they ran the bar. They get on there. So at least you're not that bad.
No. But I remember where I was. I remember in the house, and I remember certain posts I put up and stuff.
Did you not get sick of celebrating every goal went on? Because they were coming on that much. Did you not get sick of celebrating?
I'm not even going to lie to you. I just started laughing towards the end. I didn't even cheer. I just burst into laughter because I genuinely couldn't believe what I was watching.
Rory Woods is saying never underestimate Jurgen Klopp. They can certainly get results provided their attacking talent stay fit. That's from 100%. Spurs fan Rory. Meets Christmas fixtures. Callum says 10 points would be a great return here. Man United at home, Arsenal at home, Burnley away, and Newcastle at home. So again, not the easiest looking fixtures on paper. But it's impossible to know what way these teams are going to be around Christmas. But what would you think about these?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to have a great Christmas watching all that football. Do you know what I mean? That's just like you couldn't ask. As a football fan sitting here going, that's who we have for the 2 weeks over Christmas. That's me made. Anyway, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter if Santa comes or not. But
just bet Arsenal 23rd.
Right,
They
you
go
see
top of the table on Christmas Day. That will be a nice Christmas present.
See, I'd be quite. I think we'll beat United at home. Just the Anfield factor again, and you know, United's going to be a lot more compact. They're not going to come, leaving all the spaces they left last year. Like they're definitely going to learn from that. Arsenal, we gave them a 2-goal head lead last year, and they blew that. So I think again, as Callum says too, there's Champions League football. So I think I will put Arsenal away. Burnley, 100% agreement. I couldn't agree with him anymore. I hate going to grounds like that and Palace.
You don't think it might be different, Burnley, this year, but Company did play a different style of play in the Championship. They might be a bit more open.
But you see,
not be going to Burnley where Sean Dyche was there, and it was very much throw-ins, long ball, corners. I can't see Company going to them tactics because one, he hasn't really got the players to do it. He signed a lot of technical, smaller players, and I think the way Company will do it is, well, if we get relegated playing our way, then so be it. But in terms of building, if you look at Brentford and you look at Brighton, they sort of stuck with their philosophy. Fulham, if you look at them as well, they come into the league this year and played attacking football. I think Luton are the team that everyone's going to want to avoid going because they play very long ball. They've got the physicality. It's going to be the smallest pitch, I think, in Premier League history and the smallest stadium. So I think Luton away might be the ground everyone's going, this is going to be sticky.
You're right. But I genuinely didn't even think of the Company thing. Like he's played a really expansive kind of football there in the Championship in the season past, and they blew everybody away. But I do think you do alter your game against Liverpool. You do, you just don't. Like if he's got any sense whatsoever, he'll go, we're not going out here and getting hit for 9 like Burnley did last year. Do you know what I mean? Or 7 like United did. You don't want them because at the end of goal difference, you have to think like it's when you're. You don't want to be getting hit for 7, 8, 9. So I do think they'll be a lot tighter.
Owen seems to think if United don't alter their way of playing, as you said, means it could be 10 this time. Owen's getting very excited. Look on these fixtures. Lads, we're going to come on to probably the most important part of the season now, of course. As you've seen last season, Liverpool kind of, them first 30-odd games was where they lost it. So, it's great having a good run on, but if Liverpool can sort of improve and not there and get themselves into a great position, they tend to finish seasons quite strong, mates. So looking at this running, as we're Liverpool last year in the running were as good as anyone, apart from probably Man City in the league. They pulled all them points back and just fell short of the top 4. But they're running again. United's on there. So again, that's going to be a big one. I think that's 6th or 7th last game in April. United away, Palace at home, Fulham away, West Ham away, Spurs at home, which is kind of Spurs Liverpool at Anfield seems to be happening now in May every season. I think that's the last 3 times. Villa away and Wolves at home. So looking at them fixtures, Callum, would you be happy enough for that running? If Liverpool's in a strong position come the start of April, that there's every chance they can go on and lift the trophy at the end, maybe?
It's hard, obviously, because we don't know form. I can't predict form in July, but on paper, it's really, really tricky. You have 3 difficult away matches in my eyes there. You have Man United away. You take a draw no matter what form it's in. Fulham away, West Ham away, and Villa away. 4 really tough away matches, especially, and a run-on too. You've seen Arsenal away to West Ham last season. Saka missed a penalty. The pressure got to them.
That's it. If teams are on a relegation scrap, it almost puts a different perspective on it. But again, because it's just early season predictions, what kind of points return do you think is acceptable there?
Many is there? 1, 2,
7.
3, 7. So you're looking 21 points again. 15, 16. You'd be happy with, to be honest.
Mates, what about you? As he says, there are some difficult away games there on paper. And you could possibly have a resurgent Tottenham coming to Anfield as well.
Spurs at home, don't you worry about that.
But no. Looking at them fixtures, how would you assess them?
I would just kind of agree here with Callum, definitely. I would go at the 15, 16. It's just Wolves, I think, are going to be in a relegation battle this year. I just see them as being down there, and it's a tough. They could be needing to win their last game to stay up. Fulham could be struggling. Palace could struggle this year. It's so tough to call just because we haven't even kicked the ball
Well,
yet. You know,
let's just say, if it came to it, mates, do you think something special could be happening in the last game at home to Wolves? Do you think there's a chance Liverpool could get there and there's a chance of winning it on the last day?
there was a chance a couple of years ago, if I'm not
Hey, I was just
wrong.
going to say, the last 2 times we played Wolves at home in the final day, we lost it by a point.
That's right, Di. That's right, Di.
It could be written in the stars then that
Maybe
third time lucky.
maybe third time lucky, Gareth. Hopefully.
So there's a chance. Lads, we'll finish off with the season predictions. Callum, let's come to you first. Where do you think Liverpool will finish this season? And can you give me the rest of your top 6 in order?
Well, my prediction obviously is contingent on us getting another 2 players in, but let's say they do get them in. I'm going Man City first, Liverpool second, Arsenal third. I think fourth is wide open. I'll go Man United. I think they're the most settled. Chelsea fifth because they have no European football. Sixth, really, really difficult. You know what? I'll throw a spanner in the works. I'll go for Aston Villa. They have a very good manager and a good side, so
be interesting. Before we come to meets and ask him first prediction, a second, right? Would that represent a good season for Liverpool, or would they have to back it up with a trophy? What do you think represents success this season?
Me?
No, Callum. Sorry, Callum. Before
for me, you have to win trophies. I'd be looking at getting deep into that Europa League. League Cup's always a good one to get on early because it finishes up in February. So if you can get that there off the mark, that'd be excellent. So Europa League, I'll be looking to get in deep. The Premier League, it's hard, obviously, with Man City. They're as we said with Arsenal this year, finishing second, it's not a trophy. So you obviously want to win it. So I'll go for Europa League, and maybe a domestic trophy would be success for me.
Richard saying Liverpool need to be challenging City and winning trophies. Top 4 isn't a trophy. Shablosly and McAllister won't do nothing next season. That's a very bold statement. Be interesting to find out what colours Richard has on his back. But thanks for watching, Richard, a new listener, I believe. Mates, what about you? You've been talking up Liverpool's chances. So, what represents a good season for you? Where do you think Liverpool will finish? And give me a rough guide of your top 6 that you think might be there next year.
Right, I'll give you my top 6 first.
Yeah.
Liverpool 1, Man City 2, Arsenal 3, the Scum 4th, Spurs 5th, Chelsea 6th.
Right, so you believe that Liverpool could well be holding up that trophy against Wolves, and obviously I'm not going to ask you about trophies because obviously won in the league, but do you think that there's a chance they could win the Europa League as well alongside that?
My prediction is that I think we're going to win the league, and if we didn't win the league, I think a second place finish. For me, you have to and I know everybody's saying it's not a trophy, but you have to get back in that Champions League. But I'd rather get back in the Champions League by being champions. That's just how I see it. But I would rather get in finishing second rather than finishing third or fourth. It's getting scripting under the skin of your teeth kind of thing. I've always loved the FA Cup. I think it's one of the most prestigious trophies any club can win, especially. Also, I love an FA Cup final day. And I genuinely don't think the Europa League's going to be. I know Klopp hasn't won it, so it would be something. But if it comes down to it, as you said earlier on, I think the league's going to get prioritised more than Europa League. And don't forget, every game we're going to play is Sunday. Do you know what I mean? So Sunday, Thursday football, and I do think if you're looking to build a squad, Man City done it, went and won all the trophies. So there's no reason why it can't be done. But you have to utilise your squad, and you need a squad first and foremost. And I don't think we have that squad to compete and win both of them. So I do think you have to prioritise one over the other, which would be the Premier League.
Well, lads, thanks for coming on. It's been a really, really good show. Loads of people seem to enjoy it. We'll definitely get you back on towards the start of the season and maybe when the season's kicked off. 4 weeks away, lads, not long to go. Pre-seasons are starting now. So we're going to be getting a lot more. We're going to see a lot more from teams playing. Ships are going to start to take. Teams are going to start to take shape, and we're going to see more transfers probably moving now as we build towards the start of the season. So, lads, thanks very much for coming on. Anyone watching, again, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. Boys, thanks very much, and I'll see you again.
Cheers, thank you.
No bother, Gareth. Cheers, Mox. See you after, Killing.